Hello, my Jurassic fauna. This is Jurassic Allosaurus, and if I sound different today, it's because I am groggy as all hell, and I just woke up, despite it being 11 o'clock. Yeah. So today, I'm going to be reacting to an old video of mine, of which was the original village scene. And I just realized that it's titled The Lost World by Michael Crichton, illustrated by Jurassic Allosaurus, and does not say the village. Yeah. Anyways, so I'm going to give some of my commentary and the reason. And it's probably going to be, the volume's not going to be very audible. That's because I want to avoid this video getting copyright struck. So, let's, ugh, God, I'm tired. Begin. Okay, copyright disclaimer, they don't care.
The Lost World by Michael Crichton. Read by
As you can
Scott
see, I was
Burke.
trying to do a flashlight thing. A nice illumination. The village. Yeah.
Thorne moved off to one side with Levine. Levine was wild-eyed, his body moving in a twitchy way. The drive in the Jeep seemed to have finished him off. "What is she talking about?" he said. "We're trapped here." Trapped! There was hysteria in his voice. "We can't go anywhere. We can't do anything. I'm telling you, we're all going to... Keep it down," Thorne said,
Yeah.
grabbing his arm, leaning close.
I know it looks different
Don't
considering the
upset the
fact
kids.
this was made
"What difference
back
does it make?"
in
Levine said. "We're going to
2021,
find out sooner or... Ow!
or I think it was
Take it
2022.
Thorne was
I
squeezing
think.
his arm hard. He leaned close to Levine. "You're too old
Yeah,
to act like an
February
asshole," he
28th,
said quietly.
2022.
"Now pull yourself together." "Are you listening to me, Richard?" Levine nodded.
So yeah,
"Good. Now, Richard, I'm going to go outside and see if the pumps work."
Thorne looks
"They
weird.
can't possibly work," Levine said. "Not after 5 years. I'm telling you, it's a waste of..." "Richard," Thorne said,
I'm not angry
"we
though.
have to check the pumps." There was a pause. The two men looked at each other. "You mean you're going outside?" Levine said. "Yes." Levine frowned. Another pause. Crouched over Arby, Sarah said, "Where are the lights, guys?"
Glad
"Just a minute,"
I
Thorne
added
said.
Sarah.
He leaned
I added
close to
Sarah
Levine.
asking them the question. Well,
"Okay,
yeah.
okay," Levine said, taking a breath. Thorne went to the front door, opened it, and stepped out into darkness. Levine closed the door behind him. Thorne heard a click as the door locked. He immediately turned and rapped softly. Levine opened the door a few inches, peering out.
Thorne
"For
looks
Christ's
weird.
sake," Thorne whispered. "Don't lock it." But I just thought, don't lock the damn door. Okay, okay. I'm sorry. "For Christ's sake," Thorne said. He closed the door again and turned to face the night.
Yep.
Around him, the worker village was silent. He heard only the steady drone of cicadas in the darkness. It seemed almost too quiet, he thought. But perhaps it was just the contrast from the snarling raptors. Thorne stood with his back to the door for a long time, staring out at the clearing. He saw nothing. Finally, he walked over to the Jeep, opened the side door, and fumbled in the dark for the radio. His hand touched it. It had slid under the passenger seat.
Yep.
He
Another
pulled it out and
reused
carried
frame.
it back to the store. Knocked on the door. Levine opened it, said, "It's not locked here." Thorne handed him the radio, closed the door.
Yeah, you guys probably
Again,
are wondering
he
why does
paused,
Thorne look different to what he is in the new
Around
version.
him, the compound was silent.
I think, I don't know, it might have been because he was based
The air was was still.
Off of Jack
He moved
Horner,
forward and peered closely at the
a
gas
little
pumps.
something
The
like that.
handle of the nearest one was rusted and draped with spiderwebs.
Or I
He
think I
pulled
got
the
inspiration
nozzle
from
up and
ours. I don't
flicked the
know.
latch. Nothing happened. He squeezed the nozzle handle.
Yeah,
No liquid came out. He tapped the
very
glass window on the
pixelated
pump that
with the
showed the number
finger.
of gallons, and the glass fell out in his hand. Inside, a spider scurried across the metal numerals.
Yeah.
There was no gas. They had to find gas, or they'd never get to the helicopter. He frowned at the pumps, thinking. They were simple, the kind of very reliable pumps you found at a remote construction site. And that made sense, because after all, this was an island.
Yeah, the
He
village
paused.
didn't really doesn't look
This
like it
was an
makes
island.
sense in a way
That meant
because
everything came
the
in by
the
plane
problem about the
or
village
boat.
was that I didn't really know the
Most
layout of
times,
it. The
probably by
layout
boat.
of the village was
Small
very
boats, where
complex to me.
supplies were
I
offloaded
didn't know
by
where
hand,
everything was positioned,
which meant
and I just
he
tried my
bent
best
over,
to recreate it to the
examining the
best of
base
my
of the pump in
abilities,
the moonlight,
both here and the
just as he
remake.
thought. There
So,
were no
yeah,
buried gas
I,
tanks.
I actually
He
tried to
saw a
look
thick
around
black PVC
for
pipe running at an angle just
any
under the
like
ground.
maps, like fan
He
made
could see
maps
the
for
direction the
the
pipe was
village,
going,
but no go.
around the
I
side of the
asked
store.
people, I even found
Thorne
this weird
followed,
Minecraft
moving
server
cautiously
that
in the
had it,
moonlight.
and people were like,
He
oh
paused
yeah,
for
you
a
should do
moment to
Minecraft.
listen,
I was asking
then
a
moved on.
question, not,
He came
you know.
around to the side and saw just what he expected to see. 50-gallon metal drums ranged along the side wall. There were 3 of them, connected by a series of black hoses. That made sense. All the gasoline on the island would have had to come here in drums. He tapped the drums softly with a knuckle.
Yeah.
They were hollow. He lifted one, hoping to hear the slosh of liquid at the bottom. They needed only a gallon or 2. Nothing. The drums were empty. But surely, he thought, there must be more than 3 drums.
His mustache is very
He did a
uneven.
quick calculation in his head. A lab this large would have had a half dozen support vehicles, maybe more. Even if they were fuel efficient, they'd burn 30 or 40 gallons a week. To be safe, the company would have stored at least 2 months' supply, perhaps 6 months' supply. That meant 10 to 30 drums. And steel drums
Everything
were
is
heavy,
very
so
blurry
they
in
probably
this.
stored them close by. Probably just a few yards. He turned slowly, looking. The moonlight was bright, and he could see well. Beyond the store, there was an open space, and then clumps of tall rhododendron bushes which had overgrown the path leading to the tennis court. Above the bushes, the chain-link fence was laced with creeping vines. To the left was the first of the worker cottages. He could see only the dark roof. To the right of the court, nearer the store, there was thick foliage, although he saw a gap, a path. He moved forward, leaving the store behind. Approaching the dark gap in the bushes, he saw a vertical line and realized it was the edge of an open wooden door. There was a shed, back in the foliage. The other door was closed. As he came closer, he saw a rusted metal sign with flaking red lettering. The letters were black in the moonlight. Precaution, non fumare, inflammable. He paused, listening. He heard the raptors snarling in the distance, but they seemed far away, back up on the hill. For some reason, they still had not approached the village. Thorne waited, heart pounding,
Raptors.
staring
I
forward
went
at
with
the dark
the
entrance
silhouette of
to
the
the shed.
Raptors with their teeth being
At
silhouetted
last,
with
he
red
decided it wasn't going to get
because they
any
just
easier.
killed Eddie.
They needed gas. He moved forward. The path to the shed was wet from the night's rain, but the shed was dry inside. His eyes adjusted. It was a small place, perhaps 12 by 12. In the dim light, he saw a dozen rusted drums standing on end. 3 or 4 more on their sides. Thorn touched them all quickly, one after another. They were light, empty. Every one empty. Feeling defeated, Thorn moved back toward the entrance to the shed. He paused for a moment, staring out at the moonlit night. And then, as he waited, he heard the unmistakable sound of breathing. Inside the store, Levine moved from window to window, trying to follow Thorn's progress. His body was jumpy with tension. What was Thorn doing? He had gone so far from the store. It was very unwise. Levine kept glancing at the front door, wishing he could lock it. He felt so unsafe with the door unlocked. Now Thorn had gone off into the bushes, disappearing entirely from view. And he had been gone a long time, at least a minute or two. Levine stared out the window and bit his lip. He heard the distant snarl of the raptors and realized that they had remained up at the entrance to the laboratory. They hadn't followed the vehicles down, even now. Why not, he wondered. The question was welcome in his mind. Calming, almost soothing. A question to answer. Why had the raptors stayed up at the laboratory? All kinds of explanations occurred to him. The raptors had an atavistic fear of the laboratory, the place of their birth. They remembered the cages and didn't want to be captured again. But he suspected the most likely explanation was also the simplest. That the area around the laboratory was some other animal's territory. It was scent-marked and demarcated and defended, and the raptors were reluctant to enter it. Even the Tyrannosaur, he remembered now, had gone through the territory quickly, without stopping. But whose territory? Levine stared out the window impatiently as he waited. "What about the lights?" Sarah called from across the room. "I need light here." "In a minute," Levine said. At the entrance to the shed, Thorn stood silently, listening. He heard soft, snorting exhalations, like a quiet horse. A large animal, waiting. The sound was coming from somewhere to his right. Thorn looked over, slowly. He saw nothing at all. Moonlight shone brightly over the worker village. He saw the store, the gas pumps, the dark shape of the Jeep. Looking to his right, he saw an open space and clumps of rhododendron bushes.
You can see the shadow of the corner right there.
Nothing else. He stared, listening hard. The soft snorting continued, hardly louder than a faint breeze. But there was no breeze. The trees and bushes were not moving. Or were they? Thorn had the sense that something was wrong. Something right before his eyes. Something that he could see but couldn't see.
Yeah.
With the effort of staring, he began to think his eyes were playing tricks on him. He thought he detected a slight movement in the bushes to the right. The pattern of the leaves seemed to shift in the moonlight. Shift and stabilize again. But he wasn't sure. Thorn stared forward, straightly. And as he looked, he began to think that it wasn't the bushes that had caught his eye.
A lot of
But
airbrush
rather the chain link
bushes.
fence. For most of its length, the fence was overgrown with an irregular tangle of vines, but in a few places the regular diamond pattern of links was visible. And there was something strange about that pattern. The fence seemed to be moving, rippling. Thorn watched carefully. Maybe it is moving, he thought. Maybe there's an animal inside the fence, pushing against it, making it move. But that didn't seem quite right. It was something else. Suddenly, lights came on inside the store. They shone through the barred windows, casting a geometric pattern of dark shadows across
And
the
here's
open
the
clearing and
reveal.
onto the bushes
And you
by
can
the
understand why the new
for a
reveal
moment,
of the contours,
just
like in the new version,
Thorn
was
saw
much
that the
better.
bushes beside the
Just look
tennis
at
court
this.
were oddly shaped, and that they were actually two dinosaurs, 7 feet tall, standing side by side, staring right at him. Their bodies seemed to be covered in a patchwork pattern of light and dark that made them blend in perfectly with leaves behind them, and even with the fence of the tennis court. Thorn
So
was
people
confused.
gave me some
Their
complaints
concealment had been
about the roars and the growls.
until the lights from the
Yeah,
store
because
windows
the
shone
official
out
Jurassic
and caught
Park
them in the sudden bright
had
glare.
the Carnotaurus roars, like the official roars. I decided not to
Then
go
he
with that
realized that
for
the
this
leafy
version
light and
because I
dark
wanted
pattern went
them
only
to have a
partway
deep
up their bodies,
brass
and in thorax.
roar.
Above that, the animals had a kind of diamond-shaped crisscross pattern that matched the fence. And as Thorn stared, the complex patterns on their bodies faded. The animals turned a chalky white, and then a series of vertical striped shadows began to appear, which exactly matched the shadows cast by the windows.
Yeah, that transition
And
though.
before his eyes, the two dinosaurs
Transition.
disappeared from view again.
Transition though.
Squinting, with concentrated effort, he could just barely distinguish the outlines of their bodies. He would never have been able to see them at all had he not already known they were there. They were chameleons, but with a power of mimicry unlike any chameleon Thorn had ever seen. Slowly, he backed away into the shed, moving deeper into darkness. My God, Levine exclaimed, staring out the window. Sorry, Harding said, but I had to turn on the lights. That boy needs help. I can't do it in the dark. Levine did not answer. He was staring out the window, trying to comprehend what he had just seen. He now realized what he had glimpsed the day Diego was killed. That brief momentary sense that something was wrong. Levine now knew what it was. But it was quite beyond anything that was known among terrestrial animals, and... What is it? She said, standing alongside him at the window. Is it Thorn? Look, Levine said. She stared out through the bars. At the bushes. What? What am I supposed to... Look, he said. She watched for a moment longer, then shook her head.
Shadows.
I'm sorry. Start at the bottom of the bushes, Levine told her. Then let your eyes move up very slowly. Just look, and you'll see the outline. He heard her sigh. I'm sorry. Then turn out the lights again, he said, and you'll see. She turned the lights out, and for a moment Levine saw the two animals in sharp relief, their bodies pale white with vertical stripes in the moonlight. Almost immediately, the pattern started to fade. Harding came back, pushed in alongside him, and this time she saw the animals instantly, just as Levine knew she would. No shit, she said. There are two of them? Yes, side by side. And is the pattern fading? Yes, it's fading. As they watched, the striped pattern on their skins was replaced by the leafy pattern of the rhododendrons behind them. Once again, the two dinosaurs blended into invisibility. But such complex patterning implied that their epidermal layers were arranged in a manner similar to the chromatophores of marine invertebrates. The subtlety of shading, the rapidity of the changes all suggested. Harding frowned.
What are they?
She asked.
That,
Chameleons of unparalleled skill, obviously.
just to let you
Although
know,
I'm not sure one is
something
entirely
similar like that
justified
happened
referring to them as
with the
chameleons,
recording that
since
Anthony sent
technically
me.
chameleons have only the ability.
When he was when Levine was talking about chameleons and how they change colors,
Actually,
a little clip was accidentally cut out. and I asked him to redo that line, and he did, and he sent it to me, so it was fixed. And but with this version, I didn't have anybody. I had to use my own voice because this was a different audiobook.
They're carnivores. Yes, of course, they have the where's Thorn?
Interestingly enough, when I made the Carnotaurus, I only did like a trace outline, and then I used like layer paint fill for the Carnos, like existing images of the movie Carnotauruses, and I just layered them over one another, just with different layers for each frame.
I don't know how.
It was really petty, and I really did not like
Those
it.
animals must
I
weigh
almost hit
500
that.
pounds
But
each.
it was very petty, and
And there
I
are
really
two
did
of
not like it. It looked very
I told him not to go out in the
cheap.
first place. But
I,
now, Harding frowned. Staring out, she said, "Go turn the lights back on." I'd prefer to go turn the lights back on. Levine got up irritably. He had been relishing his remarkable discovery, a truly unanticipated feature of dinosaurs, although not, of course, entirely without precedent among related vertebrates. And now this little muscle-bound female was barking orders at him. Levine was offended. After all, she was not much of a scientist. She was a naturalist, a field devoid of theory. One of those people who poked around in animal crap and imagined they were doing original research. A nice outdoor life is all it amounted to. It wasn't science by any stretch. On, Harding shouted, looking out the window. He flicked the lights on and started to head back to the window. Off! Hastily, he went back and turned them off. On! He turned them on again. She got up from the window and crossed the room. They didn't like that, she said. It bothered them.
yeah, a lot of reused frames, just, you know.
I think so. Here, open these. She scooped up a handful of flashlights from one of the shelves, handed them to him, then went and got batteries from an adjacent wire rack. I hope these still work. What are you going to do? Levine said. We, she said grimly. We. Thorne stood in the darkness of the shed, staring outward through the open doors. Someone had been turning the lights on and off inside the store. Then, for a while, they remained on. But now suddenly they went off again. The area in front of the shed was lit only by moonlight. A soft rustling. He heard the breathing again. And then he saw the two dinosaurs walking upright with stiff tails.
That's kind of a weird line. I thought they were
as they
walking.
it was difficult to follow them. Toward the
You
shed.
barely hear the animator because they're
Arrived
roaring
at the
so loud.
entrance, their bodies silhouetted against the moonlight beyond, their outlines finally clear. They looked like small tyrannosaurs, except they had protuberances above the eyes, and they had
Well,
very
Allosaurus
small,
and
stubby
Tyrannosaurus look
forms.
very similar
The carnivores ducked their squarish
and have
heads
small
down
arms, but
and
the only
looked in
difference with
shed
Tyrannosaurus is that they're able to bench press, I
their
think,
tails
600
swinging
pounds.
slowly behind them. They were really too big to come inside, and for a moment he hoped that
And
they
the
would not.
Carnotaur or
Then
Abelisaur
the
arms
first of them
are
lowered
speculated
its
to
head,
be used
growled,
in
and
courtships.
stepped through the entrance.
Oh yeah.
Thorne held his
This
breath.
this scene right here,
His
I
mind
did
thinking
much
what
better
was to do, but he couldn't think of
in
anything
the
at all.
new version than I
The
did
animals
in
were
the old
methodical.
version.
The
With
first
the
one
Carnotaur
moving
stepping
aside
inside.
so the second could enter as
know.
well. Suddenly, from along the side of the store, a half dozen flaring lights shone out.
It was about to flick its tongue out
lights
to grab Thorn and
splashed
pull
on the
him
dinosaur's
into its
bodies.
mouth to kill
The
him.
beams began to move back and forth in slow, erratic patterns, like searchlights. The dinosaurs were clearly visible, likely. They growled and tried to step away from the lights, but the beams moved continuously, searching them out, crisscrossing over their bodies. As the lights passed over their torsos, the skin paled in response. reproducing the movement of the beams after the lights had moved on. Their bodies streaking white, fading to dark, streaking white again. The lights never stopped moving, except when they shone into the faces of the dinosaurs and into their eyes.
That's a
Big
reference
eyes
to the teaser
blazing
trailer
beneath
I
carboning wings.
named
The animals twitched their heads
January
and ducked away
of
as if
2022.
annoyed by flies. The dinosaurs became agitated. They turned, backing out of the shed, and bellowed loudly towards the lights. Still, the lights moved, relentlessly swinging back and forth in the night. The pattern of movement was complex, confusing. The dinosaurs bellowed again and took a menacing step toward the lights. But it was half-hearted. They clearly didn't like being around these moving sources. After a moment, they shuffled off, the lights following them, driving them away past the tennis courts. Thorn moved forward. He heard Harding say, "Doc, better get out of there before they decide to come back." Thorn moved quickly toward the lights. He found himself standing beside Levine and Harding. They were swinging fistfuls of flashlights back and forth. They all went back to the store.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, camouflaging Allosaurus and oh, thanks for watching. Yeah. That was because there was a um that was because I believe it was a toy that promoted the Lost World Jurassic Park movie, and I believe it was a T Rex. They said it. The box said it was a T Rex, but it was actually an Allosaurus, and it had the ability to change its colors. And I tried actually looking for that again, but I couldn't find it. I really couldn't find it. As if it was, it just it was a fever dream or something. I don't know. But I almost referenced it in my newer version, but I think people would have been questioning that, so I just decided to leave it out. But yeah, that was the village scene from the Lost World novel, and the reason it's not up anymore, and this is only it's blocked, so I'm able to view it, but nobody else is able to view it. It's because it used copyrighted audiobook. The audiobook from here, um, it came from a company because the narrator Scott Brick is from that company that narrates audiobooks regularly for like hours, and so yeah, I can understand that, but uh, thankfully, like after I got done with the what I will be reacting to next, which was the beach scene, which was almost paradise. Anthony stepped in and said he would like to redub it, and he did. And now I'm working with Anthony again for the river raft scene. And if you guys are wondering how long is it going to take for the river raft scene, well, uh, for one start, just to make it just to give you guys some news, Anthony's sick with a cold, and he wants to give his best voice ever because he's a really good voice actor. So I told him to take his time to get better because he's he's a really good narrator and voice actor. Um, I had started illustrating for the next one, which is the river raft scene. Uh, I got the opening frame, and I got something for the middle that you guys got a sneak peek of. Uh, but yeah, just thought I'd let you guys know. And the time frame that it took for me to make this, it took me around 2 months to make this. 1 month was for audio. I decided to put the audio in before I illustrated, which was kind of a dumb mistake on my part. Um, but the and the illustration took an entire month. And this was because of my working situation that I had when I was a cashier at a grocery store. Um, we had a different setup back then, but we decided to switch it out with self checkouts, and I was the only cashier. So everybody, of course, flocked to me. So I wasn't able to work on my illustrations while I worked because back then we had multiple cashiers, and people will go to them, and I can take care of my business, on my phone right here, which is what's recording. Um, so yeah, um, basically that's really what happened. But I've since left that job, and I'm looking for a new one. I'm planning on working at a hardware store, but yeah. And if you guys want to, you guys can donate to my Patreon. I will link it in the description down below. But yes, just a little update to you guys, and that'll be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Uh, Take care, everyone. This is Jurassic Allosaurus. Till the next time period, guys.